this movie kind of was a wake-up call. I mean, I already started the last, obviously, most live performances didn't happen last year. The one performance that we did, which was not in front of an audience, it was a virtual thing, but I did have in-ear monitors for.
Yeah.
But moving forward, I think, like, yeah, man, I mean, this fucking movie scared the shit out of me personally, even though, I'll be honest, that band sucked. Riz Ahmed's band.
Oh, in the movie?
I mean, it was like clearly a made-up band. Like, it was like I know that's not the point. I'm just saying, like, Riz Ahmed, like, if you don't know how to play drums, maybe he fooled you. Like, if you do know how to play, yeah.
Oh,
he's just
I don't know
like
how
this.
to play drums. Okay.
No, I know. He's not playing drums. And then he's going like, here's this one dumb fill I know. Like, I'm not picking on him. He was great.
He was great.
But the music part of it, thankfully, it was only in the very beginning and like one other time, because it was interesting how the movie starts, because it's just chaotic noise. But I was just like, is this going to be the whole movie? Because, like, this fucking band sucks.
You kind of get, like, that before he lost his hearing, he kind of lived a chaotic life. I mean...
he's a touring musician.
But...
They had a nicer van than most. You know, it's a movie. Every show we play happens to be this sold-out rager, like, and we're just living in this giant-ass van. Like, that's not what it's like, man. But it's, again,
I mean, I'm sure it isn't.
My one pet peeve was just like some of the writing in the beginning was a little cringy for me. Like when they were just like, yeah, you know that Meatloaf song, like, I could do anything for love. I said out loud, I said in my head, I was like, don't ask what's the thing that he won't do. I was like, that's the obvious question. Just anything but that. And then he goes like, what do you think the thing is that he wouldn't do for love? I'm like, fuck you, man. Did a 14-year-old write this? Not that a 14-year-old would have a fucking meatloaf for reference. Well, I was just like, that was just,
One of the
the tattoos were awful. I gotta say a couple bad things, all right?
No,
that's my role here.
One of the things you were saying about idle hands and how, like, one of the themes of, like, he has to constantly keep moving, or else he feels like he's going to kind of fall back on past habits of, I had said in my breakdown, like, it does feel like he's running away from his past. And now he's in this community with, their leader, Joe, is basically trying to teach him how to be still.
And very interesting how they played this out, especially at the end when he's basically got tears in his eyes and he's telling him he has to leave because his identity and the community's identity is wrapped up in accepting who you are and not running from it. And his surgery is him hiding from himself, essentially. And that's why it's so, like, powerful at the end when he takes his... Not jumping. I know I'm jumping ahead, but
we can jump ahead. Yeah. We can jump around.
This podcast is already off the fucking road now.
We really. I mean, we usually, like, start at the beginning and then we talk about the whole thing going through. But we kind of. I mean,
it's not too common where you could really speak, like, super personally about a subject. So this is going to differentiate from other shows that are out there.
Well, I feel like a lot of what Joe's philosophy is with, like, stillness is kind of like those moments when you're not trying to escape your current situation. Is like when we're like the most at peace.
Correct.
Basically. Of
be here now.
But Ruben's kind of his entire goal throughout the movie is to escape his current situation. He cannot accept the fact that his hearing is gone, it's not coming back. Mm-hmm. And they're pretty honest with him from the beginning. Absolutely. Of, like, you are not getting your hearing back. Yeah. And when they talk about the cochlear implants, they're like, they can help. They will not bring your hearing back. And it's like he refuses to accept that.
By the way, you can't charge $40,000 for those pieces of shit.
Yeah, by the way, those are covered by all insurance. That's another thing that annoyed me about the film, is when they said the cochlear implants, they're expensive. They're $40,000-$80,000, and they're not covered by insurance.
I mean, that gives a little tension. It's like you got to sell the van. You got to,
in real life,
it's a plot point.
In real life, every insurance covers cochlear implants.
Okay.
It's like it might be like illegal not to.
Yeah.
It's like a pretty like standard thing of just like, yeah, if you have health insurance and you go.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past the U.S. government.
That's
like,
true. I wouldn't put it past.
Water is not covered.
I that like pointed out because like I already knew of just like, no, that's covered.
Yeah.
By like pretty much all major insurances. I don't understand. They could have just had it like he doesn't have insurance, and like that would have solved that right there, you know. Because it's not. It's weird that it's not unbelievable that he doesn't have insurance. He's so.
Yeah. That is a weird kind of mistake, you know, because clearly they were so careful with all the. No, I don't know. I'm not an ASL speaker, but I'm assuming what they're doing is real language.
Well, another thing was
the actors. I mean,
so
like were those
for the most part, every actor who plays a deaf character was deaf.
Okay, that's what I figured. Also, that's kind of the way society rolls now.
Yes,
because if you had a bunch of people not deaf in there, there'd be a whole bunch of people like raising hell about that.
Except for the character Joe, who's kind of the leader.
I love that guy.
He's that actor, Paul Reese. He's not deaf, but both of his parents are deaf, and he grew up and he grew up in a deaf commune, and is fluent in sign language.
Shout out to that guy. He rocked.
Yeah.
I mean, I fucking was like, this is my guy. You know? Like it's a good movie, man.
It is. I like that how he kind of says like the stillness of, and he makes that kind of motion. I'm probably not doing it right in sign language. He makes that moment of like, I'm wondering, when you sit in the room, have you had moments of stillness, of just like asking him if he's had moments of peace or not. You know, if you have the philosophy of like your hands can't be idle when you're an addict, you have to keep moving. But it's also like, that's also not really a way to live your life. You have to be able to sit and be in your present moment. And I think that's really what Ruben doesn't understand.
I think, like, you know, from my experience, like I'm next week is going to be a year since I've had a drink.
Very nice.
You know,
congratulations.
Well, I don't know if it's a congratulations, because like I always say, I don't know how long it'll be. Like, but the point is, there's like steps you take, you know, for instance, like when I first stopped drinking, I was drinking non-alcoholic beer every day. Yeah. And I was eating ice cream every day. So it's like, that's not sustainable.
Right.
You know, it's like you eventually, then I turned that into walking. Then I turned that into running on the treadmill.
I remember when you were walking like a couple miles every day.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I mean. It's like, you can't you have to, you don't just take something out of your life. You have to replace it. And then at first that might be replaced by something that's not sustainable. And then you find new ways of replacing the energy. But, you know, I definitely can relate from that standpoint. Like, thank God I was never a heroin user, but it's interesting. The addiction angle was interesting. Like sometimes it's overplayed. But it was interesting here because
I'm glad that he never relapses in the movie,
because it wouldn't do that much for the story. Like,
it wouldn't, and it's not about that.
It's not about that. It's not about that. But it's an interesting thing to raise the stakes. Yeah, because you can't just hide by being on tour your whole life. You can't just hide by getting fucked up your whole life. Yeah. Now you have to make a decision.
And I like at the end when he goes in, he visits Lou, who's now living in France with his father, her father.
Yeah.
And Lou has kind of achieved that stillness.
She's kind of reinvented herself by going back.
Yeah.
In a way, symbolized by that haircut, I suppose.
I guess. But you see that, like, she used to kind of itch her arms and stuff.
Well, she cut her. She looked like a cutter.
Yeah. But of like a way to I don't know. I guess to like keep the some sort of like I don't know what I'm trying to say. But you see that like when he brings up like, oh, we got to go back on the tour, we got to work on the album again. It's like that lifestyle is no longer appealing to her.
Well, I don't think it's appealing to either of them. They're just kind of both like, yeah, like we got to work on the album. Like, dude, for some real talk, like I know, like I grew up with a lot of musicians. I know people that like, you know, they still talk about like, you know, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. You're not really though. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like this has become, I was having a conversation with the landlord of my studio earlier this afternoon, and he's a little more blunt than I am, but you know, a lot of these people that still get together once in a while and practice, and you know, it's like, it's a social thing, man.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just guys getting together,
right?
You know, it's part of your, it's, you know, what's the difference between that and like, you know, playing racquetball with like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not about the fucking, so I don't know. I found that conversation to be, just a conversation that I'm like super used to hearing, like, or overhearing.
I mean,
the moment has passed them by, but they're still kind of like.
Well, I kind of read it as just like Lou was able to do what Ruben couldn't. Ruben is still looking for that life of just like constantly in movement, constantly pushing forward, escaping your past. Nomadland. He's still looking for that because for him, that's still the answer of recovery. And she is kind of past that. That's no longer appealing to her. She's, achieved stillness, as Joe would say.